So let's get back on the trail of the reason why we're down here, the jaguar. The jaguar is the third largest cat in the world. Only the lion and tiger are larger. It weighs in at about 275 pounds. It's like a leopard on steroids, extremely strong. Its bite strength is the strongest of any cat its size. Compared to a leopard, it's much more robust. But the pattern in the coat is extremely similar. Look at the two patterns. On the left you have the jaguar, on the right the leopard. The difference is on the left the jaguar has a little dot in the middle of the rosette. That's how you tell the difference between the coat of a jaguar and the coat of a leopard. The animal closest to the jaguar in terms of strength may very well be the now extinct marsupial lion. Now, these two animals are quite different. One's a cat and one's a marsupial, so there's a lot of differences. But in terms of their jaw pressure and strength, they could be quite similar. Now, you've often heard of panthers. Well, jaguars come in a black color phase. So do leopards for as far as that goes. Either one of them can be a black panther. But a black panther, incidentally, curiously enough, has black spots, black on black. There are almost always a fair number of people looking for jaguar in the Pantanal. It's the #1 thing to see. So when the word goes out that a jaguar has been spotted, everybody and his dogs jumps on their speedboats and heads out to the location where that jaguar is said to be. It's a race because the first ones that get there usually get the best camera shots. This boat is so loaded down with people that it can't hardly move in the water, despite the fact that it's kicking up a huge wake. My guess is I can beat it to the jaguar. And this is usually what you see when you come upon a jaguar. You look into the bushes, there's a face looking back out at you, and that face disappears fairly quickly. Although jaguars are primarily forest animals, they do have a fondness for riverbanks and they do swim well. And so it's not terribly surprising to see this one down on the riverbank. Apparently he's doing some kind of hunting. I haven't the foggiest idea what he's looking for, however. At this point, I suspect that you have observed that the camera is wobbling a little bit more than usual. Please keep in mind that we're shooting the jaguar at a distance, but in addition to that, we're in a boat. We're not only in a boat and therefore rocking back and forth and going up and downstream a little bit, but there are other boats around me, and they're creating a certain amount of waves. So be patient with the photography. I'm doing the best that I can to hold it still. This cat has not found what he's looking for, so he's going to be walking upstream along the edge of the riverbank, searching around for whatever it is. This was the longest stretch of video that we got of any jaguar moving. Occasionally you'll find them resting along the riverbank and not doing anything but lounging around and napping. These jaguar must be very habituated to people and motorboats because they're paying them virtually no attention whatsoever. They're not concerned about them. If you take a look at the density of jaguar that there usually is, the fact that you ever see one is somewhat remarkable. There are estimates that in the Pantanal, the jaguar density varies from 3 to 7 individuals per 100 square kilometers. If you convert 100 square kilometers into square miles, you end up with about 40 square miles. So that's only 3 to 7 individuals per 40 square miles. That's not a whole heck of a lot, and your chances of seeing anything with that level of density is almost nil. This is the same cat that we've been watching for some time now, and his search is taking him down into the water now. Like I said, jaguars are often in the water. They're good swimmers, so he's not concerned about getting it wet. From here, the cat's going to go up on the riverbank and find himself a little platform, and he's going to lie down and start resting and doze a little bit occasionally. This is a different cat. But it's doing all the sorts of things that you would expect a cat to do. A little yawn, a little scratch, wash up a little bit. If you've been listening carefully, you've probably been hearing the click of a bunch of cameras. There are a bunch of people around us. The cat doesn't seem to be the least bit interested. It's used to paparazzi. Now it's getting to be time to get a drink of water, so you need to go down to the stream and get a little something. Well, maybe I was wrong about that. Jaguars don't mind getting their feet wet. This one doesn't seem to want to take a dip. I expect that little snap there was biting at a fly. Now that we've had a drink of water, maybe it's time to wash up a little bit. And finally, we've got a big stretch coming up. Big yawn. We're moving on to another cat. This one, unlike this last cat, this one is moving along the bank again. This is probably a different cat than any of the ones that we've seen so far. I probably saw a total of about 8 cats. Now, I don't know if any of them are repeats. Actually, I suspect that at least one of them was. There was a young female that had a slight limp. Most of the cats have names here if they've been around for a while. And I was aware of a number of the names before I came down. I asked my guide on the road down the Pantanal whether or not Superman was still here, and they said not. And I asked my guide whether or not Mr. Wilson was still in the neighborhood, and they said he still was. The cats stay around only for a couple of years as recognizable individuals. Most of the cats that we've seen and that we saw on the trip were relatively new. Very few of them had names yet. Scientists can easily recognize individual jaguar, and the reason is because the spots, especially the spots on the head, are individualized. They're not the same for any two cats, and this makes it relatively easy from photographs to be able to tell whether or not you're dealing with the same cat that you're seeing over and over again, or whether it's different cats. On occasion, the way that they tell that jaguar from any other is because the jaguar has some kind of injury. There's one jaguar by the name of Cutlip. He's a male, and he probably got it in fighting with another jaguar. Another one called Broken Jaw. When the jaguar goes into the forest like that, it's usually the end of the jaguar show, at least for that particular jaguar. And the next scene does show a new one. This is a female, and she's looking back at a male. We've got a pair of jaguars here. The male is in the background, and you can see that he's considerably larger than the female. Like with other large cats, the male and the female jaguar are going to stay together for a number of days. This is usually the only time when they're mating that you'll see jaguars together. There are some unusual video shots where there were 3 jaguars together. In one case, it was 2 males and a female. The thinking there is that maybe the 2 males were brothers and that they were hunting together. That does happen occasionally, apparently, but it's quite rare with jaguar. And in the other circumstance, it was a cub, a female, and a male. The thinking there was that the cub must have been the male's cub, otherwise he probably would have killed it. You've probably noticed that the female here is limping. I'd seen her before, as I'd seen that same limp. It's a little difficult to tell how she got that limp. With females, it's unlikely that it was as a result of fighting with another jaguar, but of course that's possible. And hunting is also another possibility. I'm sure that I'd seen this female earlier because I recognize that limp. I like to refer to her as Gimpy, although frankly she's too new to the forest here for her to have an official name. The male, on the other hand, is called Cutlip. He's well known, that's his official name, and he got it because of that damage to his upper lip. It looks to me like Cutlip is more intimidated by all the boats around him than Gimpy here is. Gimpy seems to like to stay out by the riverside and walk around. Cutlip likes to stay as far away from the boats as he can, and he watches them nervously from time to time. That's interesting, since Gimpy is new to the area because she hasn't got a name yet, and therefore is probably less familiar with the boats. Cutlip, on the other hand, has been here for a long enough time to have an official name, and so theoretically he should be more familiar with the boats and less intimidated by them. But no matter how intimidated Cutlip might be by the boats, as long as Gimpy is on the riverbank, Cutlip will be not far away. Eventually, Cutlip is able to lure Gimpy back into the forest so that they can resume their romance. Perhaps now, at long last, we should give them some privacy.